All right, today we've got a really cool case study, especially for you developers out there. We're going to deconstruct an open source project called Pluely. Now, this is a tool that's taking on a big, well-funded competitor, but it's doing it by being way smaller, faster, and this is key, a lot more private. So let's break down exactly how they pulled it off. And I mean, you can see it right away. This is a classic David versus Goliath situation. Look at this. Pluely is totally free, it's open source, and the app size, just about 10 megabytes. Its competitor? Well, that's a paid subscription service with an app that's around 270 megs. But honestly, the real kicker, especially if you're a developer building AI tools, is the privacy model. Pluely is 100% local processing. Its competitor, server-side. That is a huge difference, and it really sets the stage for everything we're about to talk about. Okay, so you've got to be wondering, right? How does this little 10 megabyte underdog pack such a punch? Well, it all boils down to its one core feature. Its main value prop, a really powerful stealth capability that's designed to be, completely invisible when you need it to be. So what exactly is this stealth capability? Well, this is the project's secret sauce. Pluly basically runs as a translucent overlay on your screen. But, and here's the clever part, it's engineered to be totally invisible during screen shares and video calls. So yeah, on platforms like Zoom or Microsoft Teams, it just doesn't show up. And the reason it works is that it taps into low-level graphics rendering, completely bypassing the normal screen capture methods those apps use. Pretty smart, right? So where would you even use something like this? Well, the idea is for those really high-stakes moments, The times when having a little extra brain power on your side could make all the difference. Imagine you're in a super tough job interview, and you need a quick reminder on some technical detail. Or maybe you're on a big sales call, and you need the perfect response to an objection, like right now. This tool is built to give you that info discreetly in the moment. Okay, so how is all of this even possible? Well, for all you developers watching, this next part is really for you. We're going to pop the hood and deconstruct the smart architectural choices that make Pluly's incredible performance and privacy actually work. So, the first and probably the most critical decision was the framework. The developer actually started with Electron, the usual suspect, but it was just too heavy. It bundles an entire web browser, which is why you get those huge app sizes and slow startup times. The game changer was switching to Tauri. See, Tauri compiles down to a super lightweight native binary and just uses the web view that's already on your operating system. The result? A startup time under 100 milliseconds and that tiny 10 megabyte size we were talking about. And this decision to use Tauri with a Rust backend brought some massive advantages. Performance is the obvious one, for sure. But security is just as crucial. Using Rust gives you memory safety guarantees right out of the box, which protects you from whole categories of common bugs and vulnerabilities. And then there's productivity. Think about it. A modern stack with React and Vite meant that a single developer could build a really polished cross-platform app that goes head-to-head with a big venture-backed company. I mean, how empowering is that? And really, all of this serves the project's core promise. This is the bedrock, especially if you're building tools where privacy is paramount. It's simple. 100% local processing, zero telemetry, no server-side logging. That's it. It's a clear, powerful statement, and it's how you build trust with users from day one. So, how do they actually pull this off? Well, the data flow couldn't be simpler or more direct. Your API keys, they're stored locally, right there in the app's sandbox folder. Then, any calls you make go straight from your machine to the AI provider. OpenAI, Anthropic, whoever. There is no middleman, no proxy server in between. And that means Pluly never sees or logs your data. End of story. Honestly, this is the blueprint for how you build a truly private AI app. Okay, let's zoom out for a second, because this is where a clever little tool starts to look like a potential game changer for the whole field. Pluly isn't just an AI assistant. You can think of it more like a blueprint for the user interface of really powerful, intelligent AI agents. So, before we go further, let's make sure we're all on the same page. What even is agentic AI? Well, in a nutshell, it's about building autonomous systems. Systems that can perceive their environment, make plans, and then actually take action. The big difference from a simple chatbot is that a chatbot just responds to you. An agent can take a complex goal, figure out the steps, and use different tools to get it done, all with minimal help from you. And this whole process is usually thought of as a loop. First, there's perception. The agent gathers data and context. Then, reasoning. A large language model processes everything and comes up with a plan. And finally, execution. The agent uses its tools like APIs or a code interpreter to carry out that plan. This perceive, reason, execute loop, that's the basic engine of any autonomous AI. So where does a tool like Pluely fit into all this? Well, it's not the agent itself, right? It's not the brain. Instead, it's the perfect user interface layer for an agent. Think about it. It's a perception tool because it can capture what you want through text, voice, or images. And it's an execution tool because it can display the agent's output in that slick, non-intrusive overlay. It basically solves what you could call the last mile problem. How do you deliver an agent's brilliant insights to a person at the exact right time without getting in their way? Okay, so here's the really cool part for all you builders out there. How can you actually use this for your own projects? The blueprint is surprisingly straightforward. Step 1, you spin up a local server, say with Fast API, that just mimics the OpenAI API. Step 2, you build out your agent's logic using a framework like LangChain or AutoGen. And finally, step 3, you just go into Pluely's settings and point its custom provider feature to your local server's endpoint. And just like that, boom, Pluely becomes the polished, private, ready-made front end for your own custom AI agent. Now, of course, no project is perfect, right? Especially an open source project that's still pretty new. So to wrap things up, let's take a very realistic look at the good, the bad, and the future potential here, the promise, the peril, and the possibilities. The biggest risk, well, it can be summed up in a single number. The bus factor is 1. And if you're not familiar with that term, it basically means if the one person working on this gets hit by a bus or, just gets bored and moves on, the project is in trouble. The whole thing is currently driven by a single, highly active developer. And for any company thinking about using this, that's a pretty big risk for the project's future. And that single point of failure leads to other real concerns, especially for enterprise use. For one, there's no community code review, which is a potential security issue. You're also not going to find any formal support channels for bug fixes. And yeah, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. That whole stealth feature could easily violate corporate codes of conduct. That's a pretty major ethical and compliance hurdle you'd have to clear. But this is the beautiful thing about open source. Every single one of those risks is also a wide open opportunity for people to contribute. The project has a public roadmap. I mean, imagine being the one to add system audio capture or global shortcuts. Or what about enhancing security? Moving the API key storage to use the native OS keychain would be a huge win. For anyone looking to get involved, these are really clear, high-impact ways you could help shape the future of this awesome tool. And all this brings us to one final big question. Pluely is more than just a clever app. You could see it as a proof of concept for a totally new way for humans and computers to interact. So is this idea, this non-intrusive, always-on stealth overlay, is this the missing UI layer we've been looking for? Is this how we finally bring the true power of complex agentic AI seamlessly into our everyday workflows? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me on this one.